Black Ops 6 is only worth buying if you already like Call of Duty. If you don't like the formula or it's gotten old for you, you're exhausted with the same experience time and time again, I don't think this is new enough to get you back aboard the hype train. If you've already checked out, this isn't going to be the thing that gives you a new needle to get addicted to. It is, at its core, just kind of same shit, different toilet. I had a lot of hype for this game because I really enjoyed the beta. The Omni movement really felt fresh, like it breathed some new life into a pretty stale formula, at least for me. But now on full release, after playing like 7 hours worth of the multiplayer, it just feels the same. And I think it's because in the beta, everyone was spamming Omni movement because it was new and shiny and everyone wanted to play with that toy. Everyone trying out the new butt plug with Omni movement. And now the full game's out and you realize you don't really need to be spamming Omni movement. Like, it's a nice little bonus. Like, it does feel pretty fluid. Like, the movement does feel good. But it doesn't really change anything at all, really. It's like if I put little risers in my shoes to go from 5'6" to 5'7". Like, yeah, it is better, but no one's going to notice. Like, it makes such a trivial difference. And that's kind of how I feel about Omni movement. It's fun to like dive around corners like it's Max Payne 3, but it's still just the same Call of Duty, but with much worse maps in the multiplayer. I'll get to that in a moment. Let's just go ahead and go through the whole thing. I really like zombies. I want to get that up top. I am having so much fun with zombies, much more than I expected to. I haven't been into zombies to this degree in quite a while. Like, I was actually doing Easter eggs earlier today, which I haven't done in years. But let's just go campaign multiplayer and we'll finish with zombies. Campaign had a lot of glaze. Like, it got like 9 out of 10 from IGN or something. Not that anyone really takes IGN super seriously anymore, unless, of course, they're making fools of themselves by giving The Penguin a 5 or Transformers 1 a 5 or whatever. But they gave this a 9, so everyone's like, oh, this must be like a pretty crazy Call of Duty campaign. Not really. The first, I'd say 70% of the Call of Duty campaign is good. Like, it is one of the better Call of Duty campaigns. I don't think it's the best one, but it is good. I was having a great time with it. I thought they did a really nice job with the set pieces, the action. The story, of course, is nothing to write home about, but it's serviceable, and it was a good time. But the last 30%, like the last 2 hours of the game, is fucking miserable. It falls apart and it becomes just tedious chores for the sake of padding time and nonsense. Like, you go into a different dimension fighting an alternate version of yourself, and then you're strangling the life out of a cosmic being entity. It's so dumb. And it's close to being fun shitty. Like, it's so stupid that it almost wraps back around to being good if it wasn't so tiresome. Like, it slows down the pacing of the game to a crawl. It is glacial. So then you're having to slowly go through these things, listen to the exposition, which by this point you don't really care about. You've definitely mentally checked out because it is just overstaying its welcome. And then you finally have this weird thing that's unfolding, and it's kind of cool how weird it is, but then you remember it took you 30 minutes of just listening to yapping and slowly opening doors and collecting little pieces of glass, and you just want it to be over. I think this is probably the longest Call of Duty campaign, and like I said, 70% of it is good, but the last 30% ruin everything that came before it. It is not a 9 out of 10. The campaign is mostly good. I think it is more good than bad, but man, I cannot stress enough just how boring the last 30% was. I won't focus on the campaign too much. Instead, I want to put the screws to the multiplayer here because I think that's the meat that everyone wants to know about. How is the beef? Is it well done? Is it rare? What are we looking like here? And I think the multiplayer is going to be good for people that already really like COD. I think it is a pretty fine-tuned, normal Call of Duty experience. The only part that I think most people will probably agree on, and they already kind of are, is that the map selection is trash. Jiminy Christmas, I don't know what went wrong with the maps. They got hit by the fucking stupid beam over there at the headquarters when designing these things. Some of them are just unforgivably big for no reason. Red Card. Red Card is the worst map in Call of Duty history. I'm just going to say it. Whoever brainstormed and spearheaded Red Card, we need to have a chat about maybe getting off the map design department there, because that is horrifyingly bad. There's 3 different levels and elevations to it with 1,000 little hidey holes to be just holding down and camping, and you will sit there for 4 or 5 minutes and not see a soul. because the map is so big, everything's so spread out. It's like you're basically playing RuneScape grinding agility when you're playing on red card. Like, you're just having a single player mind-numbing experience on that map. I hate it. And if you do find some action and you push into the other team's spawn and the spawn switch, they need to give you a vehicle to get to the other side, because it's going to take half the goddamn time allotted to the match just to go from one side to the other. Now, I know I'm exaggerating a bit, but the map is way too big. That is the point. It is way too big, everything way too, like, closed off. So it's not even, like, open and big. Like, this is a ground war-sized map where you're not seeing anybody. Like, it's so lame. I won't harp on that too long, but there's a couple maps like that that are just way too big. So you don't get to do anything. It's super boring. I don't know why they made these huge maps that don't fit. And even when the maps aren't way too big, most of them are just unfun. Like, there's not a ton of 3-lane maps anymore. Like, I know they're trying to get away from that, and it shows, like, they definitely are trying to get away from that. But in doing so, what they end up making is just maps that are chaos for the sake of chaos, where everything has, like, 5 different wraps and, like, 5 different hidey hole angles that someone could be poking their little head out like a gopher. Like, the maps just really aren't fun. Like, I would prefer just more 3-lane maps. Like, I know it's generic, I know it's been overdone to death in the franchise, but at least it was fun. These, I just haven't been having a good time with. The only 2 maps that I've consistently enjoyed are Payback and Subsonic. I haven't heard anyone talk about Subsonic, but I've actually really enjoyed that map. I don't even think it's that good of a map, like, objectively speaking, but it's like the only map where I'm getting action constantly and it doesn't feel like I'm getting shot from fucking, the upside down where I had no idea you could even get to. It's just a fine map. And Payback, I actually think, is a good map. I have liked Payback quite a bit. I think that's probably the strongest here. I know a lot of people like Vorkuta, and Vorkuta's fine. Like, I think that's another, like, serviceable map, but I'm not going, ballistic over it. I'm not pumping my fist like, yeah, this is the fucking gold standard for Black Ops 6 maps. It's okay. For me, Payback is my favorite map. That is the worst part of the multiplayer, is how bad the maps are. Other than that, everything else is fine, even good in certain degrees. Like, I do think the movement feels very fluid. I think that is a nice thing, but it doesn't feel different from other Call of Duties. It just feels like they've got the movement pretty fine-tuned by this point into the franchise. The guns feel good. Really, all of it feels good. Pretty much exactly what you expect from Call of Duty if you've played any of the previous titles. It is the exact same meal that you are getting served again. And for a lot of people, that's going to be that nice comfort food, and for others, it's just going to be pretty bland. For me, I'm somewhere in between. Like, I'm having some fun just playing through. I'm not grinding camos or anything, but hopping on and just banging out a couple of games, dropping like a fat, stinky 30 or 40 bomb before skill-based matchmaking claps my cheeks biblically, has been enjoyable. Like, I am not having a terrible time with it, but it really is just the same Call of Duty again, but with movement that I think feels more fluid than last year's title. I do want to mention skill-based matchmaking since I briefly brought it up. A lot of people are talking about it for good reason. It is harsh. The skill-based matchmaking in this is harsh. If you have one good game, I hope you're ready to get to the fucking esports challenger circuit here, because your next game is going to have the sweatiest, striving pros you have ever played against. Like, God forbid you have one game where you pop off, the next game, you are getting slapped. You are getting put into timeout, mister, and you're going to be wearing the dunce cap, because skill-based matchmaking doesn't want to see you thrive, soldier. Definitely think they set the dial to wumbo on that, and it's kind of unnecessary. I've always been pretty vocal about my belief that Halo 2 had this whole skill-based matchmaking thing solved 20 fucking years ago. You have ranked playlists, where you're playing against people of similar skill because it's ranked, and then you have casual, where anything goes. You could be playing against a 9-year-old who just got the game for Christmas and it's his first time holding the controller, or you could be going up against Eric, who's trying his best to make it in the collegiate Call of Duty esports scene. You never really know. I truly don't think everything needs to be skill-based matchmaking. I just think you could divide it into categories like Halo 2 did all those years ago. I get the philosophy behind it, where you try and cater to every possible player, where if you do queue up casual and you play against pros and you're that 9-year-old who's never played a game before, it might make you leave the game because you got stomped so hard. Yeah, I'm sure that's definitely possible, and I'm sure there's data to back it up, but I still just think trust the intelligence of the players. Like, if you want to be playing against people of similar skill, you would go to ranked, where you would be playing against people of similar skill. And if you just want, like, anything goes, you play casual. So if you're the 9-year-old who's never played a game before and you go to casual and you're getting stomped, go to ranked and you'll play against people that are equally as shit. Like, I think everything would balance out just like it did 20 years ago. I think it's just unnecessary to make everything skill-based matchmaking, but I know that's the norm now. I'm not here to just like harp on that for too long, but I did want to mention it because it does feel pretty extreme in Black Ops 6. But like I said, overall, multiplayer is pretty much exactly what you'd expect. I got the exact same Call of Duty experience, more or less. I do think it's a better version. It's just not a different version or anything. Not that I think anyone expected it to be like drastically different, but I really thought it would feel different to play. Instead, it just feels like the same Call of Duty, but just a little more responsive. I like the TTK, hate the maps, but overall, I've been having some fun with the multiplayer, and I think if you like Call of Duty, you'll probably really enjoy it. If you don't like Call of Duty, I don't think it's winning you over. Do want to talk about zombies now, though, because there is a lot of people that buy these games just for zombies. I think you might be in for a treat here. I'm not, the preeminent expert on zombies. I love World at War Zombies. I grinded the shit out of World at War Zombies, a bit into Black Ops, and I know Black Ops 2 and 3, like, people love and revere the zombies there. I didn't spend too much time playing those, if I'm being completely honest. I do appreciate them, but I didn't spend a ton of time in there. In Black Ops 6, though, I'm really liking it. I'm really, really liking it. So you have Liberty Falls and you have Terminus. Liberty Falls is definitely the easier of the two. It's pretty simple. Like, everything's pretty straightforward there. Like, that's the zombies experience that I remember from World at War, except World at War was much harder. It's pretty easy in Liberty Falls, and it's really fun. Tons of zombies, tons of guns, tons of Easter eggs. You know what to expect there. Liberty Falls, I think, is a good map for people that have never played it before, and even if you've played zombies before, I think you'll still have fun with Liberty Falls. There's a lot to do. And Terminus is where you go when you're ready to become a man. Terminus is definitely the more difficult of the two here, and I really like it a lot. It is so fucking fun. I was trying to do Kraken earlier. I don't want to get into spoilers, I'm sure. I think a lot of the fun for Easter eggs is trying to figure it out with your friends, and I think people are going to have a really good time with it. And Terminus just offers a lot. I don't even know really how to talk about zombies, because if you're into zombies, you already know a ton about it. I'm just here to tell you that I think they did a good job with zombies in this one. I do think they kind of crushed it here. I think they were cooking. Overall, though, is Black Ops 6 worth buying? It is if you already like Call of Duty, and it is if you really like zombies. I don't think if you're tired of Call of Duty, you're going to like this one. I think it is just the same Call of Duty. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. It really just feels the exact same, just with fluid, pretty tight movement, and everything feels pretty fine-tuned, except with horrible maps to accompany them. So I don't think this wins you over if you're tired of the Call of Duty formula. I think this is just a good Call of Duty for zombies, and good if you just want that comfort of playing another Call of Duty game. So if you don't fall into any of those camps, a zombies fan or a Call of Duty fan, probably not going to like this one. I don't think it's worth buying if you're just playing it for the campaign. I don't know how many people buy Call of Duty just for the campaign, but I definitely don't think it is worth buying if you're only playing it for the story. You're going to be disappointed, I think. And yeah, that's really about it. See ya.